The Tennessee Titans make a huge move, signing former All-Pro safety Jamal Adams, but I can't say I'm a big fan of the decision. I'll explain why on today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. The Tennessee Titans have added a safety. We have been waiting for this moment throughout the summer, and it's finally happened. The Tennessee Titans have signed Jamal Adams, former All-Pro safety. I'm going to get into Jamal Adams as the player, Jamal Adams' fit in the defense, and explain throughout the show why I'm just not a big fan of this move. Before we get into it, though, do want to thank you for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. We are just a few weeks away from Tennessee Titans training camp kicking off. You're not going to want to miss any of the daily coverage that I have for you guys. But with that being said, let's talk about this signing, because I can't say that I am a big fan of this move. Now, let me think about it in two different ways. The move itself, Jamal Adams, former All-Pro, 28 years old, on a one-year, low-money contract, very little risk involved with that. So the move itself is fine with me. It's a fine move to make for the Tennessee Titans because of the low risk of the signing. But when we talk about Jamal Adams as a player, I can't say I'm a big fan of Jamal Adams as a player. And people talking about him as an All-Pro and he's 20, that's all great that he's 28 and he's a former All-Pro, and in a vacuum, that would make you think, oh, that's a good move. But he has just not been a very good player the last few years. And even worse than that, he hasn't been on the field. That's the biggest issue, is the health here with Jamal Adams. So the move itself, one-year deal, veteran player, they needed a safety. Okay, I get why they're doing it. I don't hate the move in a vacuum. But Jamal Adams as a player, I cannot say that I'm a big fan of. Now, Adams is 6'1", 213 pounds. Again, still only 28 years old. Guy out of LSU, was a top 10 draft pick. Phenomenal college player. He's played 7 seasons in the NFL, played 80 games in the NFL, 494 tackles. So basically 500 tackles, has had 4 interceptions, 7 forced fumbles, 36 pass breakups, 21 and a half sacks, 50 tackles for loss, has made 3 Pro Bowls, and has made 3 All-Pro teams, 1 first-team All-Pro, and then 2 second-team All-Pros. But that was a long time ago. He has not played, Jamal Adams has not played more than 12 games in a season since 2019. 2019 is when I started covering this team and doing the Locked On podcast for the Titans. So it has literally been 5 years since this guy played more than 12 games. And his last 3 seasons, he's only played 22 games, 12 games, 1 game in 2022, and only 9 games last year. So it's just a guy who does not play football games. And when you consider Amani Hooker has missed a lot of time recently, Elijah Molden has missed a lot of time recently, your top 3 safeties are all injury-prone guys. So that is, despite the production early in his career, it's tough. It's tough to look at Jamal Adams as the player that he is right now and get excited about the signing. That's just the reality. Again, it's a low-risk move. It's going to be a 1-year deal, very little money, low risk. I admit that. The move itself is not terrible. But Jamal Adams as a player, if we're being honest, is washed up. He's just completely washed up. And when you have fans of other teams saying, oh, the Titans are the retirement home, blah, blah, it's hard to push back against that with this move. All right, Jamal Adams is washed and he's never on the field. And even if he's his best, even if he is healthy, this current version of Jamal Adams is not really a safety. He's a linebacker or even a defensive lineman. And I've been saying that all summer long, that I did not want Jamal Adams because he's not actually a safety. All right. We'll talk about his fit in the defense, but I don't think that he's a starter. I would play Elijah Molden over Jamal Adams at safety. So to me, this is a purely a depth signing, hoping that you strike lightning in a bottle, because again, Jamal Adams, you look at where he's lined up. In his career, 2,800 snaps he's played in the box. In the box. He's not a safety, man. He's only played 1,000 snaps in the slot. He's only played 1,400 snaps at free safety, and most of that came in his first 3 years in the league a long time ago. So, to me, this is more of a linebacker. This is more of a dime package guy than it is an actual starting safety. Like, Jamal Adams does not check the box that all of us were hoping would get checked this summer. He is not a safety, okay? He cannot cover anybody. You want to look back. Since 2020, here are his coverage grades per Pro Football Focus. 52.5, 47.4. He had an 81 coverage grade on 8 snaps. In 2022, he played 8 snaps in coverage. And then last year, he had a 50.7. The guy cannot cover a traffic cone, all right? Period. He can't. And you want to talk about him being a physical safety, he missed 25% of his tackles last year and gave up an 82% completion rate when he was targeted. This is not a good football player. He's just not a good football player. You know his name. You've heard of him, and that's why people think that he's good, because they've heard of him. And your casual football fan, if they've heard of the player, well, that's already exciting. But Jamal Adams is not a good football player anymore. He's simply not. Now, can he fit into this system? Yes, but I think his fit is going to be different than what a lot of people are acting like and what people are expecting him to do. Now, I will say this. There is a connection here that led to this signing, okay? This is my final piece of information on what you need to know about Jamal Adams as a player. He played with Denard Wilson for the New York Jets from 2017 to 2020. Did have his best years under Denard Wilson with the Jets. That's real, okay? He also, his father played with Ran Carthon's father. So there's a connection there too. Also worth noting that Ran Carthon's agent as a player is the same agent that reps Jamal Adams now. So there are a ton of connections all over the board, and that's why this happened. But look, guys, I'm just going to be point blank honest. I don't like Jamal Adams as a player. The move is low risk, sure. The move itself is fine. But him as a player, again, never healthy, misses a ton of games. When he is healthy, he's not good. So you may recognize Jamal Adams' name, but that does not mean that he's the player that he once was. So in a vacuum, the move is fine. The Titans needed safety depth. It's low risk, but Jamal Adams isn't a starting safety in the NFL, and he's not even better than Elijah Molden. So I don't know that it really fixed a big need for the Titans like, say, Justin Simmons would have. But let's talk about how Jamal Adams can fit into this Tennessee Titans defense and how he can make a positive impact on the team. Before we do, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers to roof racks to exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We have a safety signing. Jamal Adams is a Titan. I just talked about Jamal Adams as a player, and obviously, as you can tell, I can't say I'm a big fan of Jamal Adams as a player. I understand the move, the low risk, the low cost, the need for depth at safety, but I just don't think the signing really solves any issue for the Titans. We'll talk about how Jamal Adams fits within the defense. Before I do want to thank you again for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Tennessee Titans training camp is like a little over 10 days away, man. You don't want to miss any of the daily free content I am bringing your way here on the show. There's a reason this is the number one Tennessee Titans podcast in the world. So make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. But talking about fit within the defense, look, Jamal Adams is a gifted blitzer. He is a physical downhill player, which is why I've made jokes that he's a linebacker or a defensive lineman at this point in his career. Because if there's one thing Jamal Adams can do well, it's get downhill, okay? And it reminds me of the other free agent signing that I didn't like for the Tennessee Titans, and that was Kenneth Murray. Kenneth Murray is a guy who can't cover a traffic cone, who has terrible awareness, but he can get downhill and hit somebody, okay? And Jamal Adams is the same way. Terrible awareness, can't cover anybody, but he can get downhill and blitz. So it continues to paint the picture of what the Titans are going to do under Denard Wilson on defense. They are going to be blitzing like it's going out of style, okay? They are going to be sending the house from different directions and different levels and different angles all game long. That is obvious because you don't go out and sign a guy like Kenneth Murray. You don't go out and sign a guy like Jamal Adams if you don't have the intention to send those guys downhill. If you aren't trying to use Jamal Adams as a blitzer consistently, then you are failing to use Jamal Adams correctly, okay? So to me, it's clear what his skill set, Jamal Adams' skill set, should be doing within this defense. I've seen some people compare it to Kyle Hamilton for the Ravens. Look, he is not going to be playing a Kyle Hamilton role for the Titans. He is not able to cover well enough to do that. He needs to be a linebacker for the Titans. And that brings me to dime, sub packages, nickel packages. If you wanted a sub package linebacker, Jamal Adams is the guy for you. The Titans have used Elijah Molden in the past as their sub package linebacker, where they would have Kevin Byard and Amani Hooker back deep, or it would be Kayvon Wallace and Amani Hooker back deep last year at the end of the year after Byard was traded. And then they would have Elijah Molden basically playing as a linebacker in dime packages. That's what you can do with Elijah Molden, or with Jamal Adams. But the problem with that is Elijah Molden would also cover tight ends or cover running backs out of the backfield while doing that. Jamal Adams cannot do that. Jamal Adams cannot cover anyone. So that makes it a little bit tougher, but I'm sure that the Titans' plan for Jamal Adams will be using him as that box linebacker in passing situations. Let me say this, though, and this may be a bit controversial to people who there's a phrase or a saying in NFL media that casual fans are 2 years behind what's really happening. So a casual fan thinks about who this player was 2 years ago instead of who they were last year, because it takes some time for the fan opinion to catch up with what's happening out on the football field. That is 100% going to be in play with Jamal Adams. 100% go. People are going to say, oh, Jamal Adams, and think about who he was years ago rather than who he is now. Okay? So when I say this, keep that in mind. Jamal Adams is not a starting safety. Jamal Adams cannot be a starting safety. All right? To me, this cements what we've talked about a little bit here recently, that Elijah Molden is going to be your starting safety next to Amani Hooker. Okay? Elijah Molden is a better football player than current Jamal Adams. Elijah Molden is better at football right now than Jamal Adams is. So, like, to me, we all wanted a starting safety. We wanted to see Justin Simmons, a high-level safety who got votes for being in the top 10 of safeties in the NFL. We all wanted Justin Simmons. I was hoping because Justin Simmons is a real safety, okay? And I've been talking about this safety situation for a while. So, to me, this just solidifies and confirms that Elijah Molden will be a starting safety on this team. And then you have Jamal Adams as your third safety, your dime safety. Think about the way Dane Cruikshank was used multiple years ago as a dime safety who basically played linebacker on passing downs. Here's the issue, though. You think about Dane Cruikshank, he would man up on tight ends. Remember that year in 2021 where he was a tight end stopper? Jamal Adams cannot cover tight ends. He can't. He cannot cover tight ends. So, he's going to have basically all you can get out of Jamal Adams is being a dime package linebacker and let him blitz up the middle or blitz off the edge. That is all he can do. Literally the only thing he can do on a football field now. So that's how he would fit within the defense, in my opinion. He's not the starting safety. Elijah Molden is the starting safety, but he can be a dime package linebacker who the Titans basically use as a smaller Kenneth Murray. But again, I'll just say this. I didn't like the Kenneth Murray signing for the same reasons I don't like the Jamal Adams signing. Again, the move itself, whatever, 1 year, low risk, that's fine. But the player, I just don't think is very helpful to the team. And he's not a great locker room personality either. He is a malcontent, and I am not a fan of Jamal Adams as a human being. Do not like him. So, I get why it could fit, how it could fit, the low-risk nature of the deal, but with Justin Simmons out there, Quandre Diggs out there, Eddie Jackson out there, I would have preferred Marcus May, even though I wasn't very high on Marcus May either. I just, you guys want me to be positive about every single move, and that's just not reality. That's not reality. So, we could see how Jamal Adams could fit in the team as a third safety and as a box defender. You look at him as a player over the last few years, it's definitely concerning with the injuries and the quality of play when he is healthy. But at the end of the day, again, yes, it is a low-risk deal. And the problem with a low-risk deal like that is he doesn't really solve the problem either. The problem that the Titans had at safety still remains. They do not have two starting safeties on the team. So that problem's not fixed. Even if you like the deal, you can't tell me that problem is fixed because it's not. So with that being said, I do want to move forward and just talk a little bit more about the reaction to the signing. So we'll get into that now. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast, an emergency live edition reacting to the signing of Jamal Adams. The Tennessee Titans bring in Jamal Adams on a 1-year deal. We've talked about Jamal Adams as a player and his recent history in the NFL. We talked about how Jamal Adams could fit within the Tennessee Titans' new defense under Denard Wilson. Now I want to talk a little bit about the reaction to the signing, okay? Because that's something that has just been on my mind. Before I get into it, though, do want to thank you again for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Do want to tell you as well, though, that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. It's on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV. It's called Locked On Sports Today. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day. You get local experts from Locked On. You get coverage of every league from our national shows. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So, as a quick recap here, I understand the move. It's low risk, but it's also low reward, in my opinion. It's not a low risk, high reward signing. It's a low risk, low reward signing is what it is. Jamal Jamal Adams has not been a good player for 4 years now. He's been terrible. He doesn't stay on the field, but he does have connections to Denard Wilson, connections to Ran Carthon and his family. He can be a third safety in the defense. But really what I want to talk about here before we go is just the reaction to the signing. So obviously, you all have been listening. I am not a big fan of Jamal Adams. I don't think the signing really solved anything at safety. And I've put that out there because that's my reaction. And I see a lot of people. Oh, you're always negative. This guy hates on everything. Is this guy even a fan of the team? This and that. Let me just say this. If you're keeping score at home, okay, the Titans have fired Mike Vrabel, promoted Ran Carthon, promoted Chad Brinker, added to the analytics staff, added to the sports science staff and the training staff and the strength and conditioning staff. They hired an entire new coaching staff. Okay, an entire new coaching staff. They've signed Calvin Ridley, Lloyd Cushenberry, Mason Rudolph, Sebastian Joseph Day, Kenneth Murray, now Jamal Adams, Tony Pollard, Tyler Boyd, Nick Vanette. The Titans traded for L'Jarius Sneed. The Titans drafted an entire draft class. I have literally liked every single thing the Tennessee Titans have done this year except 3 moves. I didn't like the Kenneth Murray signing. I didn't like the draft pick of Tavondre Sweat, and I don't like the signing of Jamal Adams. 3 moves. 3 moves. All season that I haven't liked. 3 moves. I have said the Titans have the best running back group in the NFL. I have said that the Titans have a top 5 wide receiver group, a top 5 cornerback group. I've hyped up Will Levis. I've hyped up the offensive line. I hyped up the entire organization when everybody was killing them for firing Mike Vrabel. I have been positive. My reaction has been overwhelmingly positive to 47 out of 50 moves. But yet everybody tells me I'm negative and I hate on everything and I'm always complaining. 3 moves that I haven't liked this entire offseason. So you tell me, think about it right now. If you have 100% approval rating for every single move the Tennessee Titans make, always, every move, every pick, every signing, every trade, every hire, every fire, everything. If you like every single thing the Tennessee Titans do, 100%, you're either insane, a moron, or a liar. One of those 3 things. One of those 3 things. So I just wanted to take a moment and defend myself here. To say that I am negative about everything is just an outright lie. And what happens in today's society is everyone wants to complain. Everyone wants to be outraged. Everyone wants to be mad. So if I don't like one move the Titans make, people use that as a jumping board to be outraged. I have disliked 3 moves out of the 50 the Titans have made this offseason. So I'm just saying, if you want to say that all I do is complain, all I do is hate, I'm negative, blah, blah, you're simply lying to make your point because it's not true. It's actually overwhelmingly the other way. I am overwhelmingly positive. And my buddies who don't like the Titans call me a homer because I think the Titans do so well with all their moves. Only Titans fans say that I'm negative about the Titans. Everyone else says I'm a homer. So I just get sick of it. I'm sorry that I'm taking time to complain about how people talk to me, but it's just so annoying. It's just so annoying. I disliked 3 moves this all season, 3 out of everything they've done. But yet I'm painted as some negative Nancy. Okay? It's absolutely absurd is what it is. But what comes next for the Tennessee Titans? Juan G says, what's wrong with Jamal Adams besides injuries? Well, in the last 4 years, his coverage grade is 52.5, 47.4, 50.7. He had an 81 on 8 snaps in 2022. So he's garbage in coverage, can't cover anybody. He missed 25% of his tackles last year, gave up 82% completion rate. I don't, what do you mean? What's wrong other than the injuries? The guy is terrible. I don't know. Like, I don't know what else to say. He's just not good at football anymore. So anyways, the Titans still need an edge rusher, in my opinion, a big-bodied, physical edge rusher who can stop the run. I would like to see some interior defensive line churn. I don't like the interior defensive line the Titans currently have right now. I would like them to churn a little bit as we get into training camp and as other cuts happen elsewhere. I would like to see some new faces there. But, for the most part, the team is set. This was the big move that we were all waiting on. And now we're, 10 days away from training camp starting. So this is the team. I don't see any other big signings coming. Hopefully they do add a physical edge rusher to be someone who can play against the run on early downs. I would like to see that, but this was the move we were waiting on. And now it's here, Jamal Adams. So I don't think the Titans, what about when he played for the Jets? Juan G, he hasn't played for the Jets since 2020. It's been 4 years. It's been 4 years. So, oh, man. I wish I liked it, guys. I really wish I liked it. The move itself, a 1-year, low-money deal, is not that big of a deal. It's not. The move itself is fine. It's the player that I'm not a fan of. I don't think Jamal Adams is good at football. I don't think he's a starting level safety. I don't think he is a significant improvement on the group. He's just a player that's added. So, hopefully, Denard Wilson can get the best out of him. Hopefully, he can blitz up the middle and hit some quarterbacks and add a physical tone. But I still think the Titans need a starting safety. I still think it's a bad spot, one of the worst spots on the team. This signing doesn't really change my view of the Titans safety group in any way. And Zach, you're 100% right. He's going to be used like Kenneth Murray. But I didn't like the signing of Kenneth Murray either. And just being able to blitz and go downhill isn't enough to make me like a player. I need a little bit more. I just need a little bit more. But hopefully those cornerbacks are able to guard everybody, because Elijah Molden and Jamal Adams is 2 of your top 3 safeties. You are playing with fire, folks. That's all there is to that. But with that being said, that's going to do it for me today on this emergency reaction edition of the Jamal Adams signing. It's going to do it for this week of Locked On Titans. Next week, defensive positional previews for our training camp positional preview series. I did offense all this week. If you missed it, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, all that. Go check it out. Again, defense next week. I'll be back to talk about that. But that's going to do it for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.